This video is to show you the demonstration of how to paint mountains, specifically types of mountains like the ones that are on the screen right now that are kind of rocky-ish mountains or rocks in general. So before you get started on this, you'll need to make sure that you have a clean mixing tray. You've got multiple types of paint. You've got a lot of different types of brushes. So I've got one really small detail brush, one kind of medium detail brush, and one really small flat square brush, and that's one that I'm really going to use a lot for mixing colors. So first of all, you can see from my picture that's on the left side of the page that I already painted what's called the base coat on it, and we've talked about that in class, but generally it's just a lighter version of what you see on your picture, so that as you move forward with some detail, you've got kind of a base to work off of so that you're not working off of just the white paper itself. This will help to expedite the process a little bit and help you to get some general areas to begin painting with. So I need to select an area that I would like to start with first of all. So I think I'm going to start in this area right here, as this seems like, I don't know, just a good spot to start, maybe kind of an easier area. I notice on my paper that I don't really have that at all. It's just a solid kind of grayish color. So the first thing I need to do is kind of identify what colors am I going to need to mix to make this. And I know I'm going to need black and white to make the gray, but I also notice that this sort of has a bluish color, which I'm guessing is because of the blue sky kind of reflecting a little bit on there. So I'm going to start with my wet brush, and I've got my small detail brush to start with, and I'm going to select a whole bunch of white paint first to kind of move around in my paint palette. And I'm doing detail, so I don't want very much water at all. In fact, I didn't really add any. There's no big puddle of paint in that color. It's just very simple. Okay, now I'm going to rinse and grab just a tiny bit of black paint because it's really going to be strong, and I'm mixing in my tray. And right now you can't really see a whole lot of what's going on because it's such a light color. Okay, so there's part of it. I want to add the blue in there before this really gets darker, because the blue is really just going to be sort of a base color. Okay, so it looks like I'm pretty good with matching the color that's going to go in this area. So now I find my area on my paper, and I'm just going to simply start filling in blocks of color, but I'm using this really simple brush. There's barely any water. That's super, super important. So I'm just kind of moving my brush down as I fill in. If it starts getting kind of dry, I could use my brush to kind of blend. So I'm working right here, and I notice there's a really dark line right there. So maybe I'm going to grab a little black, teeny bit, mix it in with my color because I don't want it too strong, and then it looks like it kind of comes down, almost looks like a line, and I'm going to kind of move it over. Now I want to blend those two together, so I'm just going to rinse my brush, dry it off so I barely have any water, and then just go between the two to kind of mix it up a little bit. I want it to look like those are together. It's not like a totally separate thing. Okay, at the top it looks like it just kind of fades into this other area. So again, I'm just going to use water, wiping any extra off on my bucket, on the side of my bucket, and I'm going to blend with just a little bit of water on this edge here. Okay, so there's one of the ridges. Now as that dries, I might need to make some slight changes, but that's my general idea. Then I move to the next section, which is right here. I notice it's pretty light. So I'm going to just grab some straight white to add to my page. It's not going to end up being real white because I already have a brown or a gray coat down, which is what I wanted. Something to work off of. Now I notice that it's kind of darker at the bottom, so I'm going to grab my other gray that I'd already made, and I'm going to sort of fill that area in. Okay, and just kind of working my way through. Here I am right here again. Darker little ridge there, so I'm going to grab some black. Kind of starts at the top, kind of work its way down. It sort of blends in a little bit with this. So I'm going to do that, and I'm really going to just continue working. I know this doesn't really look like much of anything right now, but once I continue on with that, then it's going to start to actually look like what it's supposed to look like. And here's an example of a bigger page where, again, this was a base coat of the brownish, and then this one was kind of individual brush strokes, trying to find those dark areas, even trying to find kind of the light snowier areas later. So the point being, remember to fill in your base coat first. Then you're going to mix up whatever colors you think you're going to need. I'm using a tiny pointy brush, barely any water, and I'm going through and just blocking in the dark areas and the light areas. I will, after this is done and dry, have to go back and make some changes, and I can already tell that the top of this mountain is going to have to be lighter, so I would have to go in with some white for that area. Where the snow is, I'd have to get some pure white out of the tube of paint to fill that in. So this is kind of a general demonstration for mountain areas.